So Anishka, what do you understand by functions?
Like they can be written as like a table of values
Hmm.
or in a graph.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So those are different representations of functions. Like a function can be represented in tabular form, in graphical form, and in relation form, and in the form of scatter plot. Okay. So
Hmm.
these three representations that I just mentioned, a question can be asked in this way that identify which of the following relations is a function. So first of all, before functions, we have relations. And a relationship is nothing but just a relationship between two quantities. And usually we take our two quantities as x and y, right? And there can be a relationship between these two variables. So a relationship could be like this: y is equal to 2x minus 3. This is a relationship. The relationship could be also like this: y square is equal to y square plus x square is equal to 25. This is also a relationship. So both of these both of these equations that I have written, both of these represent relations. These are relations. They represent relationship between x and y. But not all the relations are functions. Okay? Not all the relations will be functions. And that's what we need to learn, that which relation is function. Let me just 24th July. Okay. Now, from your understanding, can you identify which of these relations is function and which of these relations is not a function?
The one on the top is a function, and the one on the bottom isn't.
Okay, and why the one in the bottom is not a function?
Because I heard that whenever you have x and y squared, it's not a function if it's a circle. Cause like
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So x and y square, what if I have this relation? Y square is equal to 4x. Will this be a function?
no.
No. Yes. So whenever you see y square term, that will never be a function. Okay, so the x term can have square on it. For example, now if you have y is equal to 4x square, in this one you have x square but y is not square. This is a function. Now we need to understand why y square makes it non-function relationship. Okay, so the difference between relations and functions, Anishka, is that for functions, every x value is supposed to have only one y value. Okay, this is really important. Every x value should have only one y value. I'll tell you what this means. Only one y value. Okay, so for example, if you have two sets, first set is first set denotes the x values and the second set denotes the y values. And here you have some numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here you have some values a, b, c, d, e. It can be anything. And if you see, there is one number 2, it is getting mapped to two different y values. So in this case, this is a relation, but it's not a function. That's the only difference between relations and functions. Okay? So this is not a function. Whenever you have one x value getting mapped to two different y values, then it will not be a function. And there is a very easy way to remember this. Just imagine that the x values are the people and the y values are their weights. So one person cannot have two different weights. For example, if I say that Anishka weighs, let's say, 35 kilograms and 40 kilograms at the same time, that's not possible, right? One person will have only one weight at a time. Okay, so that's one way to remember this. Now with this definition, we will try to understand why this relationship is not a function. Okay, why y square plus x square is equal to 25 will not be a function. So I'm going to write it here. Okay, Anishka. So if I take x is equal to 5 minus x is equal to, let's say, 9. Okay, and we try to find out the corresponding value of y. So y square plus x square, that is 9, 9 square, that is 81, is equal to 25. And let's not take this value, we will get negative. Let's take x is equal, yeah, let's just take a simple value, x is equal to 0. Okay, and then if we put this value in the equation, so y square plus 0 is equal to 25. So y square is equal to 25. So what is the value of y?
5.
Now this is a very common mistake that students do, ignoring or neglecting the negative solution of a quadratic equation. See, this is a quadratic equation, and a quadratic equation will always have two solutions. So 5 and negative 5 as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you said 5, but it will have two solutions, 5 and negative 5. So if you see, we took x is equal to 0 and I'm getting two y values. X is equal to 0. For x is equal to 0, y is coming as 5 and negative 5. So we have a person which is 0 and it is getting mapped to two weights. So this person is having two weights, 5 and negative 5, which is not possible by the definition of functions. So this will always happen whenever you have a y square term. Okay, even if you take, let's say, y square is equal to 4x, and now if you take x is equal to 1, so you get y square is equal to 4. This gives us y is equal to 2 and negative 2. So again, one x value is getting mapped to two different y values, right? So this is not a function. So just remember this, that if one x value gets mapped to two different y values, then that relation will not be a function. Okay, Anishka?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the same question can be asked in 3 to 4 different ways. First way was this, that they will give you the relation in the form of an equation. So this was an equation and we determined whether this relation was a function or not. Second way is that the relation can be given to us in tabular form. So let's say we have x and y. So x is, let's say, x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and y values are 10, 20, 30, 50, and 30. So this is a relation. We have to tell whether this relation is a function or not. Can you tell if this relation is a function or not?
No,
No. And why?
because there's two 30s.
Two 30s. Okay, but are those two 30s coming from the same x value?
Uh, no, they're repeated in the y value.
So you identified one thing correctly, that there are two 30s. There are two 30s, but they are not coming from the same x value. See here, 3 is getting mapped to 30 and 5 is getting mapped to 30, which is absolutely fine, right? So if 3 is a person and 5 is another person, let's say 3 is Anishka and 5 is me. Okay, this is you and this is me. So both of us can have same weights, right? You can also weigh 30 kilograms. I can also weigh 30 kilograms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is fine. But if it had been, if this 5, instead of this 5, we had 3, then this would be a problem. Well, no, then also this is fine, Anishka. Then also this is fine. Again, this is a way that, that they can give you question in very confusing way. This is also fine. They have just repeated a data point, 3 comma 30, 3 comma 30. This is also a function. But instead of, wait, now let me change the question again. Let's take this 5. Now if I change this, if I make this 3, here if I write 60, now this would become a problem. Why? Because one person, which is 3 and 3, now they are same persons, right? Anishka and Anishka. Now Anishka is having two different weights, 30 kilograms and 60 kilograms. Well, that's not possible, right? I hope
Mm-hmm.
this makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how you can get a question in tabular form. Equation form, I already told you. Then the third form is the graphical form. The same question can be asked in graphical form, where I'll take two examples, one for circles, one for parabolas. So this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and we have, I'll draw two parabolas, Anishka. One is this. That's it. This is, let's say this is the graph of f of x. Not f of x, this just tells us that this is a function. But this is one graph, and I'm gonna draw another graph. Can you tell if this is a function? If this is the graph of a function?
Mm, yeah.
Okay, let me draw one more. And then this is also a parabola. So we have two parabolas. One of them is a function, one of them is not.
The first one is a function, the second one isn't.
Yes, perfect. So how did you get this? That the first one.
Because the first one there's no repeated like y values,
Hmm.
and like one x value isn't like repeating a y value, and
Hmm.
the second one there's two x values like repeating a y value.
Hmm. Right. And there is a test, so your logic is absolutely correct. And there is a test which is called the vertical line test. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So vertical line test says that we will draw a vertical line, and if that vertical line touches the graph at 2 points or more than 1 point, then it will not be a function. So in this one, if I draw any vertical line anywhere, it will not touch the parabola at more than one point. So this is going to be a function, but in this case if I draw a vertical line here, so this is touching the graph at 2 points. And if you see these 2 points, and it also makes sense, this result makes sense because here for this particular x value, whatever this is, if this is let's say 1 comma 0, for this particular x value we are getting two different y values, this one and this one. So that is why this result makes sense. So this is not a function. Okay, so this question, that whether a relationship is a function or not, it can be asked in three ways. And well, there is one more way, I'll tell you that. Actually, two more ways. So first way is they will give you equation. Okay, for equation, just see if there is a y square term, then it will not be a function. Then they can give you question in tabular form, the data will be given in tabular form, and this same data can be also given to you in form of ordered pairs. So if I write this data in ordered pairs, so 1 comma 10, 2 comma 20, 3 comma 30, 4 comma 50, and 3 comma 60, right? So this is another way of framing a question. So again we can see that 3 is getting mapped to two different y values, so that is why this data will not be a function. And then the last way is that they can give you a scatter plot. So they can give you a scatter plot. Let's say here are some points. Okay, they'll give you points like this, and we have to identify if the relationship represented by these points is a function or not. What do you think?
Uh, no, it's not a function
Not a function. Why?
because there's 2 points that have the same y value and they're both x values too.
Yes, so here if you see these 2 points, these two, these 2 points will lie on the same vertical line. So this means that for this particular x value, we are getting two different y values. This x is getting mapped to two different y's. Okay, so this is not a function. Okay, so these are all the possible ways in which this question can be asked. So this was first concept in functions. Then the second concept is the concept of input and output, which is pretty easy. So you know what is input and what is output, right?
Yeah.
Right, so if f of x is equal to x square minus 2x, and if I take x is equal to 4, so f of 4 is going to be 4 square minus 2 times 4, and when we solve this we get 8. So this 4 was input, and for this input we are getting 8 as the output. So sometimes you can get a very simple question in which you just have to find out the output. Input is given and you have to find out the output, which is the easiest question. And sometimes they can give you the output, like they'll give you 8. So for what value of x, f of x is equal to 8. So output is given and we have to find out the input. Right? So first question and second question. Third question type you can expect is when the input is given in the form of an expression. So if you have f of x is equal to negative 2x plus 7, and we have to find out what will be the value of f of 1 half times x plus 3. So here the input is not a number but an expression. Okay, and we have four options, let's say. Negative x plus 3, negative x plus 5, negative x plus 1, negative x plus 10. Can you try this one?
Yeah.
So this time this is the input, and in this definition, instead of x, we will just put this expression.
Is it C?
Yes, it is C. Okay, so this is the third question type that you can expect. Then the next question type is when they will they will replace a number by some variable, and we'll have to find out that missing number. For example, if you have f of x is equal to k times x cube plus 3, and they'll give you some input and output. Let's say f of negative 1 is equal to 5. Then we have to find out the value of f of 1. So first thing, or maybe you can tell me how should you approach this type of problem.
Uh, I would plug in f of negative 1
Hmm.
and 5
Hmm.
and solve for k,
All
and
right.
then plug in k and 1 and get f of x.
Yes, perfect. So can you do it and let me know the answer?
Yeah. I got 5.
5. Yes, that's correct. Okay. So that's the fourth question type, Ishka. So f of, I don't know the answer. Let me just quickly check. So f of negative 1 is 5. So 5 is equal to k times negative 1 cube, which is just negative 1 plus 3. So 5 minus 3 is equal to negative k, which is 5 minus 3 is negative 2. K will be 2. Then f of 1 will be equal to 2 times 1 plus 3. Yeah, so 5 is correct. Okay. Okay, so and the next question type is, now this question type, Anishka, this is specifically based on linear functions, okay? And this is asked a lot on SAT math. So some data will be given to you, x values will be given, and f of x, like the input and output, will be given to you. So let's say negative 4, negative 4, 0, negative 1, 6, and k. And it's given that f of x is a linear function. That's it. That's all the value that's all the information that's given to us, and we have to find out the value of k. Can you guess how this particular question can be done?
To like make a equation.
Mm. Okay. Which type of equation should we make?
A linear.
Linear. Perfect. So, and the most important information that's given to us in this question is that this is a linear function. This information allows us to write an initial equation for the function. So since this is a linear function, we can write f of x is equal to mx plus b. And that's it. Now what will you do next? How will you find out the value of k?
I would make an equation and then plug in 6 and get k, just the y value.
But you don't know what is m, what is b. You can try doing that. So if this is what you're saying, right? So k is equal to m times 6 plus b.
No, like I would use the -4 and -4 and 0, -1 to get
Okay,
m.
okay. So you will make two equations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that you can do that. So, but that will be a longer method, but yes, we can do that. So it will be -4 is equal to -4 times m plus b. When we took -4, and then you can take -1 is equal to 0. So yeah, from here you can get b. What will be this? 0 plus b. So you get the value of b, and then you can find out the value of m, and then you substitute 6 comma k to get the value of k. Right? This is what you were saying. This is what you wanted to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
This is absolutely correct. There is no harm in doing this, but except that this is a longer method and it can take you more than 1 minute, I think. What we can also do here is that since it's a linear function, we know that these 3 points are gonna lie on the graph of this function. So what I mean by that is, if let's assume that the graph of this function is this line. Obviously it's going to be a line because it's a linear function, right? And these 3 points are gonna lie on this line. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter where they are. Okay, so I'm trying to explain your concepts. Let's say this point is -4, -4, this point is 0, -1, and this point is 6 comma k. Then the concept that we can use here is that the slope of, so if this is a, this is b, this is c, so the slope of AB will be same as slope of BC. The slope of line segment AB will be same as the slope of line segment BC. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you do this, you can get the answer in, I think, in less time. You, of course, you don't have to draw all of this. You can simply find out the slope of these 2 points and find out the slope of these 2 points and set them equal to each other. Wait, so it's gonna be -1 minus -4 over 0 minus -4 is equal to, take these 2 points, k minus -1 over 6 minus 0. This is another way of doing this question. I feel that, this might be a faster way, but the one that you said, that is also correct. So then you'll get k as 3.5. Okay, and this type of question, Anishka, I'm seeing this question a lot on SAT Math, where they just give you that f of x is a linear function and we have to find something. Okay. Okay, and finally the last concept of functions is interpretation of slope and the y-intercept. Well, there are two concepts left actually. Okay, so first let's do interpretation of slope and y-intercept. This is again for linear functions. So let's say f of x is equal to mx plus b. Do you know what's the meaning or what's the interpretation of the slope and the y-intercept?
The y-intercept is like where it touches the y-axis, and the slope is how high it goes or how
Hmm.
much it rises.
That's absolutely correct, and that's the graphical interpretation. So B is going to be that point at which the line will touch the y-axis, cross the y-axis, and M is going to be the steepness, like how slant it is or how steep the line is. That's the graphical interpretation, but I was looking for more of a real life interpretation. So if you know, and this is useful in word problems. Let's say if you have a cost function c of x is equal to 30 plus 7x, where x represents the number of hours, and then this is finally the answer is coming in dollars, right? You might have seen these type of word problems. We'll do these type of word problems. So here we can see that, let me write it in this form, 7x plus 30. So here this is the y-intercept and 7 is the slope. So in this context, what is the interpretation of the y-intercept and the slope? So x is the number of hours. Let's say you are going to a gym, okay? You're going to a gym for x number of hours, x number of hours, okay? And this is the cost that you have to pay. So if you're spending 9 hours, if you're spending 9 hours in gym, so the amount that you'll have to pay is 7 times 9 plus 30. That will, whatever this will be, that will be the total amount that you have to pay, right? So in this context, what is the interpretation of 30 and 7? If you know, you can tell, or you can try it out.
But the answer,
I mean, no, not the answer, but what's the interpretation of 30 and 7? They ask a straightforward question. They will explain you this entire situation, that you're going to a gym and you have to pay, the amount that you have to pay is represented in this form. Then what's the best interpretation of 30, or what's the interpretation of 7? Just a straightforward question like this.
like I guess it's a flat fee,
Hmm.
and per hour the gym you have to like it you have to pay like seven you have to pay like $7 per hour.
Exactly. So this is the interpretation of, so the y-intercept, it's interpreted as the initial value. So B, this is the initial value, or as you said, the flat fee in this case. So this means even if you're not going to a gym at all, not going to the gym at all, so even if x is equal to 0, that means you did not go to the gym. Even then, you have to pay this $30 amount, right? Because if you put x is equal to 0, so your c of x will be still 30. So that's the initial value. Okay, that's also called initial value. Initial value, we call it initial value because we get this value when we take x is equal to 0. That's why we call it initial value, and this represents that this is a flat fee. And then this 7, which is the slope, this represents the additional fee that you have to pay per hour. Okay, So m is, now m is, the interpretation of m is actually this: m represents change in the y values for every 1 unit change in the x values. Now this is super important. There you can expect minimum one question from this concept only, the interpretation of slope. We'll do a lot of practice questions on this concept. So the slope represents the change in y value. So here the y value is going to be the cost, the total amount that you have to pay. So m represents change in y values for every 1 unit change in the x value. So if you keep increasing x by 1, so like for 1 hour the additional amount that you have to pay is $7. For 2 hours the additional amount that you have to pay will be $14, right? So that is represented by the slope 7. I'll give you some problems today based on this concept, and then we'll review them later, but this is really important, Anishka. Okay, so this is done. There is one more concept which is left, but we will do it in the next class, and then functions will be done. And that's actually it's word problems. I wanted to do some 2 to 3 word problems in class based on this concept, but we'll do that in the next class. Now let's review the assignments. I hope this was clear.
Yeah.
So let me just quickly write it down. In the next class we have to do word problems. Or maybe I'll give you the word problems in assignment and then we'll review them. Maybe you would be able to solve them. Assignment functions. The entire functions I'll give you.